To remind everybody to speak directly into the microphone because we are recording, and when you do that, we are able to pick up your every utterance, okay? The Historic Preservation Commission is a 9-member board appointed by the City Council and serves on a voluntary basis without compensation. The purposes of the commission are to promote the educational, cultural, economic, and general welfare of the city through the preservation and protection of buildings, sites, structures, areas, and districts of historic significance and interest, through the preservation and enhancement of local historic, architectural, archaeological, and aesthetic heritage found in the city, through the maintenance of the distinctive character of the city's historic districts, and through the promotion and enhancement of the city's historic aesthetic attraction to citizens, tourists, and visitors. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask the other commissioners to introduce themselves, and this evening we will start from my right and the audience left.
Valerie Smedley.
Carol King.
Keelan Adams.
Vincent Hall.
Thank you very much. Before we begin our proceedings this evening, I'd just like to bring to the attention of everybody that on November 11, 2025, we lost one of our former commissioners in the person of Walter Lee Bush Sr. He was eulogized at St. Jude Catholic Church on November 21st. And I would just like to ask the other commissioners to join with me in 30 seconds of silence in respect and honor of our former commissioner, Walter Lee Bush Sr. Thank you very much. We have our agenda on the screen, but before we do that, I would just like to look at our agenda for a minute, scroll up here to the very top, and our first order of business is the adoption of the minutes of the October 14, 2025 meeting. To our other commissioners, you have in your email the minutes of the October meeting. The chair will now entertain a motion for the adoption of those minutes.
I move that we adopt the minutes of October 14th, 2025 as written.
Okay. Any unreadiness? Yes, unreadiness? Okay.
No, second.
Second. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that very much. Okay. It's been moved and probably second. All those persons in favor of the minutes of the October 14, 2025 meeting being adopted as written, please let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Getting along with our agenda for this evening, we have the Fall 2025 Plaques Award Ceremony for the following applicants, and I will step away from this microphone and get to another microphone, and we will ask those recipients to come forward and receive their commemorative plaques. Our coordinator, Mr. Shaun Rhodes, will call your name, and our Commissioner, Ms. Valerie Smetley, will award you with the pleasure of your presentation for this afternoon. Mr. Rhodes.
All right. We have Tara and J.D. Norris.
They're not here? Okay.
All right. So the next one that we have would be for Suzie Rhodes, 1031 Woodward Avenue.
Okay. Our next one,
Carmen Sowers. And Dr. Bailey, she did say, tell me that she would be about 15 minutes late. So she should be here in just a few minutes.
all right, we'll just wait until she arrives. Okay, is anyone else here to receive a plaque this evening?
And I don't
Okay.
see
All right.
John and Julie Burns.
Okay, are they here? Okay, so we just leave these here in case they come in. Okay. Thank you very much, and just let me say, as Chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission, I just want to applaud your interest in historic preservation, and I just want to let you know that we meet here at City Hall every other month, and you are very, very, very welcome to come back and say a few words and ask questions of whatever the case may be. But thank you so much for taking an interest in historic preservation. The next item on our agenda is the Appendix C, Historic District, Cloverdale Idlewild, the draft revised ARB design guidelines. Shaun, you want to lead us on that? Thank you.
Sure, and so again, continuing with a series of the appendices at the back of the the new design guidelines that are forthcoming. Each one discusses a historic neighborhood. This is actually the last one, and that's Cloverdale Idlewild. So just wanted to put it up here for you all, including for the public as well. And if you have any questions, anything that I've left out of this narrative, it's really short and concise, but tries to be we try to be to give a good overview of the neighborhood and how it became designated and all of that. So for Cloverdale Idlewild, we had the original purchase way back in 1824. There's a land sale that happened, and then Maston Road, there was a Maston home place. This became Maston Lane, and so just goes through a lot of those details. And then also the fact that it was actually separate neighborhoods. I think there were 3 or 4 different neighborhoods that were sort of combined together. It was the Cedars, Cloverdale Heights, or South Cloverdale Heights, and then I think there was 1 or 2 others, Fairview Homes. So those separate, distinct neighborhoods, basically sort of coalesced together to become Cloverdale Idlewild. So again, if you all have any questions, anything glaring that I've left out, I'm happy to incorporate any feedback that you all have for it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments?
Shaun, could you ever find, assuming because you didn't put it in here, you couldn't either, nobody's been able to really find when Gendrat sells it to Maston exactly?
Yeah, no, I don't have the exact date or anything, but it's that is something that I can take a note and try to find that. But
everybody, there's always been a question as to who actually built that house. Fairview, did Gendrat actually buy it? Or, did he actually build it? Because it's such an early structure, appeared to be, or did Maston do it? So that's just always been a question nobody could ever really decide on.
You know, come to think of it, that information should be available at the county archives.
Well, everybody's looked for it, I mean,
Right.
you know, through the years, that kind of thing, but
Right.
it's probably more of a record kind of
Sure.
thing.
Right.
It's,
But it should be in the abstract.
if there was one,
That's true too. You get my point.
Yeah,
If there is an abstract,
it should be in there, but,
it
yeah.
definitely would be in that information.
But-
And Dallas Hansberry, one of our former commissioners, I think he would love to just try to find that very point. But that's where that information should be in the abstract for that property, if it is available. Okay.
And thanks for,
Any other question or comments?
I'll just say thanks for that, Carol. I'll take a note, and
Right.
yeah, if we can find it, I'll
Right.
definitely include
But
that.
a telephone call to Dallas Hanbury should take care of it,
Right.
if it's available, if
Okay.
it does exist. But one of the things I just want to say is how much information is in this report, and this is the early history regarding the development of Montgomery, and this is the kind of information. Let me say this, that basically everyone in this city should know. Seriously. When we begin to focus on some of the street names in Cloverdale, Idlewild, and other parts of the city, when you look at this report, look at those last names, and you know the names of some of the streets in the area, and you can say, wow, this is how that particular street got its name, et cetera, et cetera. But bottom line is, the kind of information that we have in this report is the kind of information that everybody in the city of Montgomery should know. Okay? Historic preservation in the city of Montgomery. Shaun, you want to guide us on that also?
All right, if I can take a moment here, and we'll have a PowerPoint to pull up on the screen here. And some of you all, I know Carol and Vincent may have seen this before at the Preservation Leadership Seminar earlier this year. Let me see if the clicker works. Yes, it does. Okay. So really just wanted to go through some details about historic preservation in this city, and some of the various things that we're working on, how preservation works, just kind of a general overview, for you all, for the listening public, people at home and all of that as well. So on the screen here is basically an overview map showing all the existing local historic districts in the different colored layers there on the map. And so that's the sort of current list of locally designated historic districts. And then although most of these areas are residential, you might be able to see some of the individual properties up on the sort of northern half of the map above I-85. Those are individually designated buildings. And right now our list, the local register has about 74 of those. The number kind of fluctuates. There's some that have been demolished, and that'll be sort of coming up later on next year that I would look to. We may need to actually undesignate some of those that no longer exist. But anyway, this is what the map shows is the local historic districts, and then we have individual buildings as well that are designated as landmarks. So that's kind of an overview map. And then this slide is really just discussing historic significance and what the concept is and what it means. So basically, historic significance is when and why a person, place, or thing is important in the past. And I'm using the example here of Old Cloverdale because you can see on the map on the left the curvilinear streets that were designed there. It's kind of a Fred Law Olmsted type design, and so that's one of the big things that is significant about Old Cloverdale. Most of the districts in Montgomery on the local level were designated for their architectural significance, and so that's where we have a picture on the right showing a two and a half story Tudor Revival style house. It's got a cat slide on the roof there, so we can see the architectural details very clearly with a Tudor Revival style house. One of the big character defining features, and there's actually a slide a little later about character defining features for a Tudor Revival house, is going to be the stucco with the wood interspersed on the upper story. That's known as half timbering, and it's a character defining feature of Tudor Revival style. So when we see that, we can generally identify that particular house in this architectural style. So I said that most of the districts were designated for their architecture, and this is something that we would really like to see diversified quite a bit to bring on more social and cultural history. So we've been doing some outreach, trying to reach out to folks who are not currently on the local register of historic places, and see if we're able to get some movement toward designating places for their cultural significance and not just the architecture. So that's once we identify a building or a site or whatever it is as significant, then we go forward with protecting its integrity, and we want to steward that integrity over time. The integrity piece is how we're able to basically identify the building and its importance. So if you lose that integrity, then we can no longer identify its importance. So, and going back here just a second, so if we were to take out, to change that cat slide on that roof, for example, that would be losing a substantial part of the integrity of the house. Or if someone were to cover over the half timbering, for example, those are things that would not be good, that would lose the integrity of that architectural style. And so then moving into another slide here on a potential new historic district that we have that I've been doing a lot of documentation work on. Warren and I did an architectural survey. Some neighbors attended the survey with us, did walkthroughs and everything, and just saw kind of how we document all of this. There's about 380 properties in this neighborhood in South Hull. And so quite a large area for basically one staff person to document, so it has taken some time, but we did achieve a milestone recently. I think I mentioned that at the last meeting, where I was able to complete all the site inventory forms, so that's a major accomplishment, and we'll be looking forward to drafting a designation report to bring before the HPC in the calendar year 2026. That's my goal, to have that in front of you all, so you can consider this neighborhood for potential designation on the local level. And so the neighborhood, just some brief kind of details, was platted out between 1900 and the 1940s. Of course, you had 2 world wars during that time, so there was a kind of a stop and start aspect at the early beginning of the neighborhood. And then it was developed between the 1930s and about 1958 is the kind of end of the major building period in 1958. And then as such, with those dates that we have, this neighborhood is an example of post-World War II suburban housing development. South Hull is also associated with the use and repeal of racial covenants in real estate deeds. We have seen some of that as well in the historic research that we've done. So those are kind of the big themes, some of anyway, that we'll be talking about in the forthcoming designation report. And again, I plan on getting that finished and brought to you all in the next calendar year. So that's something that we're looking forward to. And I did meet with the neighborhood association recently as well, just to give them this same update and let them know where we are in the process. And here's another aerial map on the left, just showing basically the neighborhood in development. This is 1942. I believe that was actually in the midst of World War II at that point. And then on the right side is just a tentative map showing the boundaries of the district, or the proposed district. And so wanted to go through some of that just to kind of preview you all and touch base on where we are with that neighborhood. And then this slide is about integrity. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. In historic preservation, we primarily use the National Park Service's kind of framework, and that's that there are 7 aspects of integrity. There's a lot of conversations to where, you know, this may be expanded in the future. I would like to see that, but currently this is sort of the paradigm that we have, that we work under. And so location is basically self-explanatory, where the property was constructed or the place where the historic event occurred. Setting is the actual physical environment. So is it urban, suburban, agricultural, rural? You know, what's the setting? So that would be another aspect of integrity. Design is the combination of elements that create the form, the materials, what kind of space is being used, all those sort of design elements. The materials are a big deal. What kind of materials are used? Is it brick? Is it wood? Is it hardy plank? Like what are the physical materials that were used for that building? And then workmanship is the craft work of the builder. And then we have feeling is the property's expression of the aesthetic or historic sense of a particular period of time. This is kind of a, sort of subjective aspect is the feeling, but there is a way to, I think, just to describe it objectively, but it does get a little bit subjective when we're talking about feeling. And then the last one is association. And this is the direct link between an important historic event or person and a historic property. And so that's kind of the paradigm of preservation. So again, we want to identify places that are significant and then protect their, I'll go back just a moment, there are 7 aspects of integrity. And a building can have, some of them, but not others, and that's okay. We want to try and maintain as many of them as we can to keep the cohesive sort of, expression of the property, of its significance intact. And then this is just a brochure. So, I do hand these out to folks, anyone who I talk with that's interested in designation. And then it gives some details about the design review process. So that's the method by which, once we designate a place historic, that we protect the integrity is through a design review process. And so that's handled by the Architectural Review Board on the local level here in Montgomery. And so if someone wants to make, changes to the building, changing windows, doors, siding, adding something, making an addition onto the house, whatever it is, or a commercial building, then that's where they have to go through the application process and then come before the Architectural Review Board, who are going to review the proposal, in coordination with our design guidelines to see, does the proposal meet those design guidelines? And the guidelines are actually, that's what I was referencing earlier, that we are in the process of updating them. That's been an ongoing project, that started before me. And again, I hope in 2026 that I'm able to get that completed as well. So that's another major project that I think will be much more up to date. The existing design guidelines are from 1985, so not great. But they do give us, something to work with, and that's what the ARB is using. So some of this will be probably just stuff I really just talked about, is the design review process. And this is kind of public facing, so, talking, about this process to homeowners and things like that. I always encourage people to reach out early in the process. Talking with me is always the best way to get things, done appropriately. A lot of times when things are already in progress, then we have to try to ask for, a retroactive approval and all those things. So that's not the ideal scenario. Ideally, people will reach out to me in advance, let me know what the idea is, and then I can talk through the options with them, what is likely to be approved, what's not likely to be approved. So I try to, be open and available for folks, as a resource, to talk through projects, with people. And it does indicate here, that the cheapest option will not always be approved. That's another thing that, we want to see a design that is good, that fits in with the character of the house. And then, again, we want to always undertake those renovations so that it's designed sensitively. So if we're doing an addition, it's always good to kind of put that on the rear side if we can, in the back, somewhere that's not going to obstruct, a major street-facing facade or something. So that's just as an example of designing something sensitively so that it fits in with the character of the house, but also the character of the neighborhood as a whole, because that's what a district is there for, is trying to look out for the neighborhood as a whole as well. And then these are the existing design guidelines, again, 1985, so that's what we're working with. It's kind of pictorial, just has like an acceptable category, not acceptable. So although it is a bit dated, it is kind of straightforward. Like, does what you're designing, what you're proposing fit into the acceptable or not acceptable category? So that's what we're working with. And just to give an example, so here's fences, gates, and walls, and then here's the draft revised guidelines, where it's going to be much more detailed, have actual guidelines on the right side, and then pictures as well, just to help with, giving people examples, being able to see things visually, and help with, just reading what will be a long document with a lot of technical sort of language in it. So we'll have photographs there as well. So that's just an example of just basically the same topic, but in a revised version, and an expanded version as well. And so then talk a little bit about the SOI standards. I mentioned the National Park Service, that's under the Department of Interior. And, I'll kind of gloss over some of this. There are generally four guidelines for the treatment of historic properties. So that includes preservation. That's a lot of times the highest level for like a museum type setting or something. Rehabilitation is really the one that we use the most with our design review. So it's about rehabbing a building, within, like I said, keeping the design good, but, acknowledging that some change might be needed to bring it back, if it's been a vacant building or something, to bring it back into habitable condition. Restoration is just going to be, restoring a building back to a specific time. And then reconstruction is really, that's one that, is very infrequently used for, like National Historic Landmark type buildings. If the building is lost, this is a treatment standard where you would rebuild it and basically build it back to kind of what it was. And that's, often for buildings where we might have like the original blueprints and things like that, so that we can try and reconstruct, what's been lost. So don't see that very often. And again, rehab is going to be the, most common treatment that we see and that we use. So then, there's an online training that I can share with you all as well on the board for, basically it talks about each of these treatments and those things. So this is just quoting from that, so I'll just move forward. And then character, I mentioned this earlier with a Tudor revival style house, and this is kind of just a illustration or a diagram. So character is really all the visual aspects and physical features, and then character defining is the overall shape of the building, its materials, craftsmanship, decorative details, aspects of the site and environment. And this is what I was mentioning earlier with half-timbered wood. on the Tudor-style houses, which was meant to mimic medieval infill timber framing. So there's actually a historic reason for why they designed it in this way and used those materials. So it was to sort of mimic what was happening in Europe in the medieval period. And so then classical columns would be another character-defining feature if we're looking at like a Greek revival. I think I have, or no, this is going into something else. So a Greek revival style building, there's actually a few of those here in Montgomery as well. And I guess I don't have a picture on here, but basically having classical columns supporting an entablature with a fancy frieze on the top and decorative details and all of that, that would be another character-defining feature. So again, if we're talking about maintaining integrity, preserving integrity, if you were to take away those columns, now you're really severely hurting the character of that building. And again, here's the historical sort of precedents. Classical columns were meant to refer to the strength and stability of ancient Greece. And again, this is what we see in American architectural history is a lot of times, mimicking and modeling on things that happen in Europe. And then moving forward to just an example of a development that came through the ARB. So this is a design review that I think went pretty successfully. It's an EJI project. It was a former, auto showcase. On the left, you can see the cars actually inside there. The building had been kind of vacant, abandoned, in rough shape. And they really designed it to kind of meet a modern use. So it's an exercise facility just up the road from their Elevation Hotel. I think it's mostly complete. I need to go out and take an actual photograph. That's the design rendering that they submitted to us. But you can go there, if you're interested and just kind of see. And so, yeah, this is the sort of before condition at the top here, or existing when they came to us. So, I'll get a photo at some point, and we'll pop that into the presentation on the before and after. So, just an example of design review, how it works, and all of that. And then we'll talk about historic wood windows. This is a major thing for the old houses in Montgomery. Most of them have original wood windows, or if they're not original, they may be, like early replacements. And we really try and keep wood windows around if we can. Removing them, is kind of once you remove it, it's gone sort of forever. Even if it's a wood replacement window, it may not be the same kind of strength of wood. A lot of times back in the late 19th, early 20th century, they're using old growth lumber, which is kind of frowned upon nowadays. We wouldn't want to do that. But that wood is much stronger than pine forest planted a year and a half, 2 years ago or something, and then cut, commercially and things like that. So we try and keep the wood materials there if we can. These are character-defining features of the old houses that we have, if they are, if we have wood windows there. So these are just some images. Again, my predecessor, Christy Anderson, developed this document, and I'm pretty sure did the restoration on this window as well. So on the left side, you can see the kind of damage and, lack of maintenance and all of that. And then on the right side, after some glazing, you can really replace all the parts of a wood window. That's the great thing about them. You can strip it down, oil them, reglaze them, and then paint it and put it all back together, and you maintain that same window rather than trying to replace it. And here's just some analysis on people like window salespeople that will claim you're going to be much more efficient by going to a newer window. If you kind of look at the bigger picture, it doesn't the math doesn't always work out that way. So keeping the original materials are going to be better than taking them out, and putting in some kind of a vinyl window. So so those are just some details on wood windows and repair. And these windows, again, with old growth lumber, can last 100+ years. If you bring it back into good repair, then it can, you can continue that cycle almost indefinitely. whereas vinyl windows are prone to fail within 15 to 20 years or so, and other materials as well. There's a lot of like fabricated materials out there nowadays, PVC and all these kind of different manufactured materials, and we don't really have a whole lot of data on that and like how long they will last and all of that. So again, we try and keep these historic wood windows there when we can, and yeah, so that's enough said on that. We'll move forward to substitute materials. Sometimes something cannot be repaired, right? I mean, we have to acknowledge that when we're dealing with old houses. Sometimes it does need to be replaced. And so this is a recent National Park Service public preservation brief, number 16, on substitute materials. And basically just talking about different, it might be kind of hard to read the captions there, but it's talking about ways to mimic like the original design of a material, and when it's okay to use this and how to use it appropriately and all of those things. So that's just information on substitute materials. And then here's an example from my hometown, Augusta, Georgia, where a commercial building had this fiber cement was used to replace the historic infill. So I think the original photo is on the right side, and then the after is on the left in this example. And so that's an example of, just substitute materials. And hardy fiber cement board has grown in popularity. Our board has been pretty flexible with allowing hardy fiber as well. And just from some of the things that I've read, it's very malleable. You can, make it into sort of what you need for the situation. And it also seems to be pretty long-lasting as well. And so, that's that. And then just some kind of benefits that we have here for owning historic property: community engagement, sense of place, increased real estate stability, dedicated staff. That's me. As far as issues in the district, things like that, and then also. Again, just that sense of place of having the local government acknowledge that your place, your house or building or site or whatever it is important, is significant in our history. And then we have the design review. I look at it like design thinking. So if what you're proposing is like not working, then we can iterate that again and come back to the drawing table and find something that does work. So I look at the design review. Some people seem to think it's a big hurdle that, whatever they don't want to go through. But I think it's actually a positive to be able to think through a project before you go and start making changes to the building. And then we do have some leniency for historic properties when it comes to zoning regulations. So you may be more favorably considered for a zoning variance. For example, if your building is designated historic. And then there's also increased opportunity for tourism, economic development, investment, sustainability, because again, using materials and buildings that we already have there, it's going to be better than demolishing them and building something new. And that it's going to cost 3 times more or whatever the case is. And then along with that sustainability is naturally occurring affordable housing as well. So so those are just some benefits. I think that's the end of what I have here, some resources. And happy to answer questions if you all have questions or want to talk or say anything. Happy to talk.
Question? Comments?
Yeah, I have a question, Shaun. This is really good. Where is it located on like a website or anything like that? Is there a certain location? I think that it may not be on our website. I will make sure that I post it if it's not there. Our website is montgomeryal.gov. Yeah. And I think usually I direct people to the Architectural Review Board, but we have a page for the HPC as well. So I can put it under the HPC, and it may already be there, but I'll check tomorrow, and if it's not, then I will get it posted.
Right.
but you're talking about this whole project.
Yeah.
The design guidelines are on there, but this presentation isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just say, thanks, Shaun. That was like really informative. I think that, you know, in this city, there are a lot of older properties. And I was just looking at the thing about the windows, which I think for a lot of people in older properties, that's one of the main concerns. The first thing is to, you know, get the double pane storm windows, but knowing that you can, you know, reglaze the windows and it keeps the integrity of the space. So, you know, this was really informative. And I look forward, you know, to sharing this with the public. So, you know, we'll just continue to do what we can do to get the information out to people. So thank you.
All right.
Any other comments?
I
Yes.
just want to thank Shaun as well, but I was listening to
Speaking to the
Vincent.
mic. Speaking to the mic.
Oh, I thought I was close enough. I was want to thank Shaun as well, and I was listening to Vincent on what he was saying about getting information out to the public. And I would think at some point if we could look at a way of taking this information to the neighborhoods. You know, we have several properties that's designated, particularly say in Idlewild. Let's, you know, pick out one or two properties and go to that property and maybe have that property owner to allow us to address those things that we are looking at. And maybe some of the other neighbors in the neighborhood will be invited over and they can see what we do. Because a lot of times they on the outside looking in. But if we take it to them and they start seeing what we're doing, then those things that Vincent was just saying, we can show them what's the advantage of glazing your windows versus replacing them with a double pane. But they may not realize, they think that's the standard. You know, let's just do what, you know, tradition and society has instilled in us, just replace it. But if you're in a property or in a neighborhood, and Shaun has identified so much in that Idlewild neighborhood, I just think we will be doing a disservice to that neighborhood if we don't go to them and let them know how important it is for that where you live. Because what he has brought to our attention is generations and generations of information that they probably have no clue. You know, that my great-grandmother, you know, was in this neighborhood or they grew up in this house, but not knowing the history of the property. But I really appreciate the work you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
This is the last one. I will say when we talk about, you talk about those seven, you know, the integrity of a space, if we get that information out to say Idlewood and these other properties, you know, that feel, that last one that we talked about, the feel is subjective. The community can define and share what that feel is, because it is subjective. But if they know that, right, they can share that information with people outside their community, and, you know, things can evolve from that. So, yeah, I just really appreciate this.
All right. And I would just say, too, that, and thanks for your comments, everyone. I appreciate it. And, you know, Vince and Keelan as well. We do have this education committee. We didn't really meet this cycle, but I have I think I sent you all a schedule for January to meet. And I think that is one of the main things for the education committee is that, you know, we can, again, work toward, you know, a workshop kind of situation where we have this information and we may have some other kind of interactive, you know, things, and to meet with people, with communities, again, that are not currently designated, but that we think, you know, may meet the criteria for designation. I think that's where, like, my vision would be, is, you know, to work toward that common understanding of what it is, how it works, all this, so that people are not as, like, scared of a design review or a regulation. You know, when you become designated, now you have to go through this regulation by the government. And so I think trying to address that aspect will be helpful. And yeah, so we can continue that work as well into the new year. And then Vince and I did attend a couple of things for neighborhood services, put on a couple of, neighborhood meetings. So I was there and kind of presented, you know, sort of less formal way, but I mean, I think that's fine too, just talking with people face to face as well. Ms. Medley, did you have a comment? Okay, I thought you were raising your hand.
No, any other comments or
Thanks, Shaun,
question?
yes.
Yes.
For bringing that up, because the events that we attended, it was, I think in partnership, it was with the neighborhood services, and we had the Alabama Security Commission. So it was a conversation not just about preservation, but about scams and frauds and things like that. So the people that were there, really appreciated that information. So, we just kind of meet them where they are and have these conversations to sort of ease the community into this and make ourselves, accessible. I know you've done a great job of sharing your information and that you are accessible, but, we are here to serve the city and the public. So, I would love the day when we look out and it's packed, because that's how this city and those communities can move forward.
Yeah, and I would also say, as we start these, like with the Education Committee, as we start these meetings strong in 2026, if you guys have any ideas, like with what you had, Ms. Medley, if you would, submit those to us via email so that we can kind of work through that, because we're going to be working pretty hard and heavy opening of 2026. So, yeah. But.
Okay.
And,
anyone else? Yes. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much, Shaun, for that excellent report, and the other commissioners for your comments and question. And Shaun, while you're standing, how about a staff update?
Okay, yeah, and Dr. Bailey, I think we did have our other person, Carmen Sowers, for the plaque as well. And so maybe we do that, and then I'll give a staff update. Carmen Sowers.
Okay, you can call your name. You can call it.
Yeah, you can come on up. Carmen Sowers. It's 3253 Montezuma Road.
Yes. 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 Before you go, would you like to make a comment or two?
Just that I enjoyed the process of going through the application and learning about the neighborhood and some of what was mentioned as far as, feeling a sense of place. I'm a transplant here, military retiree, and I retired and decided to stay. So as I bought this house and kind of saw some of the signs on the other houses and thought, what does that mean? I want to do that. It was really fun to, establish more my sense of place here in Montgomery. And I've been very excited that the application was approved, and then I'm going to get to put this on.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And please come back. Yes. Yes. And by the way, would you come back just a few minutes? And first of all, say a few words to us, and then let the two of you take a photograph here. First of all, just say a few words.
Good job, brother.
Yes, just come around here.
Suzie Rhodes, my daughter started renting this house when she was a student at Huntington College. And she loved it so much that we asked the owner if we could maybe purchase it once she was graduated. It all worked out. And Margaret says that she loves the house so much that she would like to just stay there forever, but that may not be possible. But anyway, we knew that it had something stored there in this world, just really got to tell it was 100 years old.
Oh, really?
And so, looking through the old tax records and whatnot, so I just wanted to pursue the actual designation, not just really typical to be able to get it, and thank y'all very much for seeing that early.
Could you come towards the center here? And Commissioner Smedley, could you come back? And Shaun, could you come over here and take a picture? Pose for a photograph? Could you just turn that around? Just come toward the center. Yes. So stay on one side.
Shoot. Natasha will take a picture. What's that? Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And you all please come back. Please come back. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking an interest, as we love to say, in historic preservation, because it means a lot to us, and we're so proud that it means a lot to you. So thank you very much, and as I said before, please, 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 please come back and join us again, and just let us know how you're doing and how everything is going with you, okay? Shaun, those updates? Thank you.
Sure, and thank you, Dr. Bailey. The main thing is that we were awarded a grant through the Certified Local Government Program. Again, this is a National Park Service program. They pass funds through the Alabama Historic Commission, and it's a competitive grant cycle yearly. And so it was a grant for Cottage Hill Survey Update. So we were awarded the grant. I'm working on getting it executed, so still some work on that. And, then we'll be reaching out to the neighborhood as well. Did, speak with them prior to applying for this. And so that's the main thing that I wanted to update you all on, is that this is specifically for a local survey update. So this is really, it was designated in like 1974. There was a National Register nomination in the 80s, so there was that update, and then there was a Cottage Hill Annex on the local register also in the 80s. But other than that, there's not been a survey since then. I mean, that's like 40 years ago at this point, so it's in dire need of an update. And so the way I've structured that grant project is to have a consultant to help, sort of with me kind of leading the project, just to say not to have a consultant like really do the whole thing, I guess is the point on that. So we'll be, so anyway, that's the update. We're still need to get the grant executed, and then we'll be looking to, set up like a RFP, request for proposal, and move that forward. So that's the big thing that I have that you all don't really, I don't think, know about. And then I did mention earlier the South Hole documentation update as well. So that's moving along. And again, my goal is in 2026 to have the designation report finished and bring that before you all for consideration. And so those are the main things that I have.
Can I just give a quick one? This one? Yeah. We recently submitted an application for a federal lands access program grant. We requested $3.6 million for 100% design of the Selma to Montgomery Trail to improve walking and traffic issues. This stretch of the trail will be from St. Jude's to the Capitol building, and we were recently informed that we've been chosen as one of the 5 projects. The only thing that's in question at the moment is whether we will get the full 3.6 million or not. We're still waiting for the actual appropriation of the funds, but as it stands at the moment, our application was successful, and depending on the amount of funds, we would hope to get 100% design and engineering for that stretch of the Selma to Montgomery Trail.
Okay, thank you very much. before we leave, we have some visitors here this afternoon, and I'd just like to give them an opportunity to say a few words before we leave. So is there anyone out there, including Ms. Dorothy Walker, who would just like to come to the microphone and say a few words? We'd appreciate it very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I can't tell, yeah, now I can tell that I'm being heard in the mic. My first, thank you for you all conducting this board meeting so that the public has an opportunity to hear all this updated information. Thank you for the work that you do on behalf of the communities. I have a question, and then I have two projects that I wanted to talk about, but my first question is to the staff about an update on the city was awarded a grant from the National Park Service through the Underrepresented Communities Fund to do a survey, and I believe National Register nomination for Carver Park and Mobile Heights, and I wanted to know what the status of that was.
The status of that is I was actually just in a webinar today, so the project is set up in Grant Solutions. The full 75,000 was awarded. Everything is running about a year behind simply because it took that length of time for the National Park Service to figure out if the money was going to be appropriated. So everything with that is actually moving ahead. This is effectively the start of the grant period now, and we have up to 4 years to spend the money, so everything with that is moving ahead at the moment.
So the next step is?
The next step is obviously reaching out to the neighbourhood, making sure everyone's on board with what we're doing, and working on the RFP to actually get some proposals in for who's going to actually do the work.
Okay, thank you for that. It would be great if something could be produced to provide to the neighborhood residents to let them know that that process has started and that this grant has been awarded for people who live in that community. I think that is part of the issue we have, is that we do these projects, and I'm including myself in that, we do these projects in a vacuum, and we don't alert the neighborhoods, particularly given the fact that this will be, I believe, Carol, right? This will be the first post-World War II African-American community listed in the city.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. The reason the neighbourhood haven't been contacted yet is because I wanted to make sure 100% that funding was there. And that was only just recently that we were told we got the grant award agreement. The last thing I wanted to do was reach out to a neighbourhood before I had the funding absolutely confirmed. And the second thing is, as you probably know, is a requirement for a National Register survey that a vote goes out to the residents to make sure a majority of them actually support the nomination. So that will have to be done.
Sure, and I think sometimes it's easier to have the community understand on the back end their responsibility that they have to agree to be a part of the National Register District if we do our due diligence on the front end in terms of information. So that's just my 2 cents. But
and Dorothy, just to comment too, we've had some discussion about at some point aligning the local designation with the National Register. In other words, if a neighborhood gets put on the National Register, it is moved on into the local designation process as well, as sometimes now in the past it's been skipping, but that has been discussed.
That'd be interesting. Some communities do that already.
Well, some of them it's sort of an auto thing, but I mean, since technically the survey's already done, to align the double process.
Yeah, that would be really great. And then the other, that was my question. Then the other announcement is that Peacock Track was recently listed in the National Register of Historic Places as a historic district, and I wasn't sure if everyone was aware of that listing. But that's a really big deal too, because we don't have a lot of African American historic districts listed in the city. It would be great, Shaun, from that map that you showed earlier with the local designated historic districts, it would be great to show the National Register of Historic Districts, maybe not on the same map because we don't want to get people confused that a National Register district is also a local district, but it would be great if the city had that map. Maybe it does, and I'm sorry if I don't know that it does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, but yeah, I know that the AHC has a really good map, you know, statewide.
Not a really good map.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know.
It's not an easy map to navigate, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's definitely like sort of, yeah, I've had some issues trying to like search in there as well. But I guess just the fact that it does have all the National Register, you know, districts on it. And yeah, so I don't know, I almost want to just point people to that just because the AHC manages the National Register. But I definitely understand, you know, the point, and yeah, showing kind of all the different, you know, levels of preservation. So I'm in agreement on that, and yeah, thanks for that. I'll take a note, you know, on that as well. And also, thank you for mentioning Peacock Tract. I did mention to the board, you know, I don't know, some months ago that, you know, there's this back and forth between the consultants and the National Park Service. And so I was very pleased to see that it is now listed, and then that was done and it's accomplished. And so that is yeah, like you said, big deal. And I'm very, like I said, pleased to see that and hopeful that, you know, we can use that to move forward and for the community to help with, you know, revitalization and all the things that, you know, are needed in Peacock Tract and other areas as well.
And my last comment is back in November, we got notified that Landmarks and all the great work that they do over there at Landmarks, Carol and company, was awarded a grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation. It's a small grant, but it's through their historic National Trust Preservation Fund. And this grant is to support the Benmore Hotel restoration project. I don't know how many people out in the public know that that project is underway for the Benmore to be redeveloped. And then this grant will also support Centennial Hill community engagement in that area. So I want to thank the Landmarks Foundation for their willingness to take this on and to apply for the grant, and then thank all of the members of the board who participated in helping to pull the application together, as well as Valerie and Valda for their support for the community conversations that we're going to be having over in Centennial Hill. So you all will hear more about that, but we want to thank the National Trust for their support for the Centennial Hill community. So I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record as well. So thank you guys for the work you do.
Okay, and
thank you very much. Anyone else like to make 30 seconds comment?
Yes. Dr. Bailey, I'm make a quick comment real quick. Thank you so much for bringing that up about Carver Park and also Mobile Heights. And Mr. Adams and Shaun, if you guys could, I think I at least know about Mobile Heights. They meet at the library, and I think it's one of their meetings could have been yesterday. I think it's the second Monday of each month. If you guys could dispatch some of that information to me, and I'll see if I can, you know, get some of those meetings perhaps January through, let's say, the first quarter.
Yeah,
give me a little bit of time there.
We can work with you to organise the meetings and make sure that they're well advertised and well publicised. And again, some of the information that Shaun just gave is going to be incredibly useful to, you know, explain to people about historic district significance. Obviously, there's a difference between a National Register district and a local register, but a lot of the information that he provided was pertinent. This was a grant that was actually applied for over a year ago. And then we were told we had been successful, and then the administration changed and we heard nothing for probably 10, 11 months. And then out of the blue, the email came through saying that we had been awarded it. And we just recently received the actual award notice, and that was the confirmation I was waiting on, because really until then everything was just, yes, you've got it, but there was no contact from anyone. I even called people in other states to find out if they'd heard anything about their application, and everyone was really just left hanging. So while it would have been great to tell everyone, hey, we've been told we've got the money, we didn't actually have anything rock solid and concrete. And now we actually have that, and the first webinar was today to discuss the actual process and moving forward. And they've basically said that we have up to 4 years to spend this one. We obviously don't want to do it in 4 years. Technically, these grants can be issued for 5 years, and we've already lost a year from when it was awarded until starting the project. So I was a bit concerned we would only have a year to do it, but it was confirmed today, no, we have up to 4 years. So that actually takes a bit of the pressure off. But we've been ready to move ahead with this since we told we had it, but we really didn't want to do anything in case for any reason the money was suddenly pulled. We wanted that confirmation that the money was there.
Right, okay, that's understandable. Okay, well, hey, I'll just wait whenever you guys are ready.
Sure. Okay, thank you. All right, as we come to a close this evening, just like to ask if any of the other commissions have anything going on you'd like to bring to our attention? Anything coming up like to bring to our attention? Okay, there being nothing that needs to come to our attention, I'd just like to thank, I'm sorry, yes.
Dr. Bailey, you may notice that there's a slight typographical error about the next meeting. It's going to be actually February 9th of 2026.
That's right. That's right. In fact, we don't want to have a meeting on February 9th, 2025.
No, we don't want that. We don't want that meeting.
No, we don't want that meeting. Certainly don't. But just let me thank all of our staff members from the City of Montgomery for coming out today, and our other commissioner and our guests. There being no further business, meeting is hereby adjourned.